All right, thank you, Mr. Weinheimer. Next up is Chairwoman Brooke Paup. Chairwoman Paup was appointed to the Texas Water Development Board by Governor Greg Abbott in February of 2018. Governor Abbott named her chairwoman to the Texas Water Development Board on April 22, 2021. Prior to her appointment to the board, Paup served as the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Texas Comptroller of Public Accounts. Chairwoman Paup has many years of state government experience. She earned a Bachelor of Arts from Texas A&M University, and she also has a Juris Doctorate from Texas Tech School of Law. Please join me in welcoming Chairwoman Brooke Paup.
Look at that, my IT actually worked. That's shocking for me. If any of y'all have seen some of my presentations, I always have some sort of IT snafu. So anyways, well, howdy y'all. I'm Chairwoman Brooke Paup of the Texas Water Development Board. I am so thrilled to be back in Amarillo. It has been 2 years since I've been able to travel to this region, and that interestingly enough, this event was one of my last events before big bad COVID hit, and we weren't allowed to travel for quite some time. When I told my 7-year-old daughter I was going to Amarillo, she thought that was hysterical because she thought I said armadillo and kept telling all her friends, my mom's giving a speech in Armadillo, so we had to have like a little bit of a geography lesson in the Paup house before I left. Anyways, I'm here to talk about the state water plan from the state's perspective. This is a really great graph about my agency, the Texas Water Development Board. We are a lean and mean state agency. Some of y'all might not know this, but we are capped at 390 FTEs, which think about the billions of dollars that flow in and out of my agency a year. That is quite extraordinary, and that is because of the utmost professionals that work at my agency. Couldn't do it without it. I like to say we're a rare unicorn of a state agency because basically we are a small bank that does a lot of really cool science. There's nothing like it in the United States. We have 3 functional areas. That's the water science. How much water do we have? Where is it? What's the quality? The planning. It's a bottoms-up approach that started in 1997. Interesting fact, that's when I graduated from high school, so go Plano Wildcats. And population projections, which areas can expect the fastest growth, and to identify the potential shortages and to plan accordingly. And finally, the part that most people tend to care about the most, the financing. I have several different financing programs that help provide dollars to entities like the City of Amarillo to build projects, and we build all sorts of projects. We build water supply projects, we build wastewater projects, and now we build flood mitigation projects through our flood implementation fund that Chairman Perry really helped spearhead, so bravo to him about that. Let's see. This way back. See, it works. Okay, so why do we plan? Well, because we have to. The Texas economy is vibrant, it is resilient, it is growing. I believe that the Comptroller's Office mentioned recently that we are the 8th largest economy in the world. We have surpassed Russia in our economic growth, and that is amazing, but there is no Texas miracle without Texas water. The goal of the state's water planning process is to ensure that we have an adequate water supply for all Texans in a time of drought. And you all know as well as I do that Texas has a history of drought, sustained, devastating drought. I believe that Texas A&M estimated that the 2011 drought that actually lasted from 2010 to 2013 almost, but in 2011 alone, the agricultural industry in Texas lost almost $9 billion in a single year. That is devastating. And so when you think about that, going into 2013, there are two bills that really have helped with the state water plan. But to add on to that 2011 drought comment, going into the legislative session in 2013, the legislature realized that this was not sustainable, that we had this great state water plan that was kind of rejiggered in 1997, but it had no teeth. There was not enough dollars and resources behind this great state water plan. So they did something quite innovative and proactive. They took $2 billion from the rainy day fund in 2013, which was unheard of at that time. The rainy day fund was considered the savings account for the state of Texas. It was not to be touched. And this was one of the most conservative legislatures in the history of Texas. And the fact that they realized and recognized that water had to become a priority and took those dollars and created the State Water Implementation Fund for Texas was just tremendous, and just showed the innovative thinking of the state and the value that the state legislature puts on every drop of water. I also like to thank that legislature because they gave me my job. They reorganized the Texas Water Development Board from 5 part-time commissioners to 3 full-time board members, an engineer, a lawyer. I'm the lawyer. No, sorry guys, I'm the lawyer. No one likes the lawyer on the board, and a financial expert. And so we all work together to ensure that the state has the water it needs, and we help fund infrastructure. But in 1997, the legislature decided it was time to reevaluate how the state plans. They worked on SB1. There are lots of people in this room that really helped with that effort. If CE was here, I know that he was a big part of that. We created 16 regional water planning areas, and it is a bottoms-up regional approach because the legislature recognized that the regional groups are really have the best information on what water supply projects will best fit in their community. So how do we plan? Well, it's a 5-year cycle. Ben Weinheimer, who spoke before me, was absolutely spot on correct about this. It is not a static process. The State Water Plan is a living, breathing document. Every 5 years, we completely reevaluate how we're doing our projections. I think that we have some new projections for the next State Water Plan, some new formulas that we're going to be playing with and looking at. We're constantly striving for the best possible state water plan. So each planning group identifies potential water shortages under the drought of record. These are the water needs, and recommends water management strategies to address those shortages. How many in this room actually serve on a regional water planning group? Anyone? That makes me so happy. Oh, hi CE, I see ya. We could not put out this incredible policy document, one that's unlike anything else in the United States, without our regional water planning group volunteers. We have 480 warriors that are helping us with this struggle to ensure that the state has the water it needs. And I always say you all have real jobs and families, and it is not easy serving on a regional water planning group. So I just cannot thank you enough. We could not do it without you. And please continue to serve on these groups because we need every single one of y'all. All right, the SWIFT. This is our carrot to get communities to participate in the planning process. We link planning to financing, long-term water planning to incentive financing. You plan accordingly. If your project's in the state water plan, you have access to the gold standard of infrastructure lending, the State Water Implementation Fund for Texas. Here's our success story, and this go back to those 390 FTEs that I have. We have provided over $9 billion in commitments since 2015. I mean, just rapid fire commitments, getting water supply projects funded and built. We have proudly helped create 1.5 million acre feet of new water supply, but my favorite statistic out of all of this is we have saved our borrowers over $1 billion as opposed to going to the open market. There is no better deal than the SWIFT program. That's why you have to get involved in your regional water planning process and get those projects in the state water plan so you can have access to a literal pot of gold. So an important data point for how we plan population growth. The Controller's Office estimates that, I allude to the Controller's Office quite a bit because I worked there for several years and they have a lot of really cool data points too. But they estimate that the state is growing by over 1,000 citizens per day. Per day. That's 500 natural births, those are our little baby Texans, and 500 Californians a day that are getting on a U-Haul and coming to the state of freedom here. But not one of those valued new citizens is bringing a single drop of water with them. Texas is expected to hit the 30 million mark sometime during 2022. And honestly, I think because of all the transplants that are coming due to the financial realities of COVID in a lot of states, I think that projection might be low nowadays. By 2070, we project that the state will reach 50 million people. No surprise, the fastest growing counties are near urban centers with like DFW and Houston. Okay, here's some good news. Supply and demand. Despite the massive population growth, we expect statewide water demand to increase only slightly over the next 50 years. And why is that? This is due to greatly increased conservation, primarily in the agricultural sector. So bravo to all of y'all. We have a growing population, but we're using fewer gallons per person. Here's the not so great news. The blue line represents the existing supply. So we are obviously in trouble if we do nothing. But thankfully, our volunteer army of water planners, I call them my water warriors, are hard at work. So we have categories, annual needs by categories. They include, I think Ben touched upon this, livestock, mining, manufacturing, steam electric, municipal, and irrigation. Our irrigators have a huge need today. They'd produce more crops if they had more water. And that trend is going to continue until eternity. You'll see that municipal needs are projected to grow the most over the planning horizon. Those 1,000 citizens a day are putting quite a strain on our existing water supply. But all the other categories are quite small in comparison. So really, when you look at the state water plan, irrigation and municipal needs are really what's driving our planning. So some recommended strategies. Connecting new surface water supplies is going to play the biggest roles. We have major reservoirs and smaller reservoirs, and I know reservoirs are somewhat of a hot topic in the water world. I was on a panel with a fellow who hilariously called them the evaporators instead of reservoirs, and I thought that was funny, but by any means, they play a huge part in that surface water role. And we need additional pipelines to connect those new customers. Demand management is important. Conservation, the measures that we implement all the time, and then drought management, the additional conservation measures we implement during times of drought. Reuse is growing more common every day, and I was so happy to hear yesterday when I met with the city of Amarillo that they have quite a robust reuse program. So bravo to Amarillo for that. Groundwater will need to be developed responsibly, and I am not touching that 100-pound gorilla in this speech. I'll let the experts talk about that. And our innovative water strategies, while comparatively small, will play a large part in certain regions of the state, and those are things like ASR, BRACS, desal, seawater desal. We've got a lot of tools in our toolbox to help address water supply. So new strategies by region and type. You can see how each region are deploying different strategies. The more urban regions, the C, the H's, that's Dallas, Houston, K, that's Austin, L, are counting on reuse quite a bit. In addition, surface water, obviously, in Houston and Dallas is a huge deal. We just got the boat arc up and running, and that's really neat. One of the first major reservoirs in 30 years to be permitted and built in the state of Texas. So we're quite excited about that. Every region plan utilizes quite a bit of demand management because that is smart. And you'll see that Region M, near Corpus Christi, has a sizable amount of seawater desal that they are projecting to come online. And I'm incredibly excited about this. It's high time the state of Texas actually seriously took a look at the untapped resources of seawater. Although it is very expensive, but it will be worthwhile once we get those plants up and running. So the total capital costs. So in 2013, when HB4 was passed and the SWIFT was created, the goal was to fund the state assistance portion of the 2012 State Water Plan, which at the time was $27 billion. So keep that in mind. The estimated total capital cost of the projects in the 2022 plan is $80 billion, and that's $47 billion in state assistance. That is a $20 billion increase in 10 years. And that is primarily due to construction costs. Construction costs almost every day seemingly increase. And I don't need to tell you this twice, but supply chain issues are putting a huge strain on our construction projects. COVID has too, and just general labor shortages. That's extraordinary, the amount of money it is going to take. But we have the resources and we have the wherewithal to tackle this. So I'm very optimistic that the Texas Water Development Board and the legislature is up to help with this. And finally, you'll see here that fortunately, the wholesale providers and municipalities are going to shoulder the load for paying for new projects. And with that, I'd love to give a shout out to Temple McKinnon, who's not here, but she is head of our water planning process, and for all my incredible employees at the Water Development Board. If you have not been on our website to check out the 2022 State Water Plan, y'all, it's awesome. If you are a data nerd like I am, you can go in and just really figure out where the demand is in your region and the strategies that your regional water planning groups are really looking at to help get the water that y'all need. It's awesome. And with that, I'll take any questions. It's funny, I cut my presentation down by like 10 slides because I run really, really long most of the time. You give me a microphone and I'll just talk. And my chief of staff's always like, he wants a hook to pull me off the stage. But I think it's just a testament to how much I love my job and I love this water world who has embraced me and my somewhat new style of leadership at the Water Development Board. But questions, comments? Anyone need money? Raise your, yep, yeah. Yes, sir.
So you shared on one of the graphs the projection where it was climbing throughout, sort of big jump in municipal.
Yep.
If you were
Oh, man. I'm not entirely sure. I had a slide on that and I took it out, but I can get you that information.
Would you say, just for reference, are we oversupplied currently, where it's going to be multiple years down the road, where?
We are meeting our supply right now. We're not in the black, but with the growth that the state is encompassing, we need every single drop. And that's honestly where conservation comes in. I always say you can't conserve your way out of a drought, because you can't. When a drought like 2010 to 2012, 13 hits, there's honestly no amount of conservation that's going to really put a dent in that. But conservation is like your savings account. Every drop we save helps for the future. So, not the best answer for you, but it's what I got right now. Yeah, absolutely. So not all doom and gloom. We've got resources. We've got the best folks in the state really working on this pickle that we're in, this just exceptional growth and economic powerhouse that the state's in. But it's going to take all of us, and it's going to take state leadership. That's why I'm so happy that Senator Perry is following me, because he has a lot of very innovative ideas. He told me in Lubbock last month when I was there before I got a nasty case of COVID, that he wants us to think bigger and bolder. And I would like that too, but sometimes bigger and bolder means we need more money for those bigger and bolder solutions. But it's going to take all of us working together. So constant collaboration and communication. I have an open door policy. I have an open chief policy. Raise your hand, Patrick, if y'all need anything or you have questions, comments, you want to gripe about something in the planning process, if you think that there's something that the Water Development Board can be doing to make the planning process more efficient, or something that you would like to see in the plan, come tell me, because I don't know what I don't know, and I'm always open for suggestions. We are constantly striving to improve the process. Like I said, it is not a static document. It is a living, breathing document, and if we can do things better, we will. And we are a very stakeholder-driven agency that really cares about what our water groups are saying, what our customers are saying. So come talk to me. So with that, I can tap dance, I can tell a few jokes. Yes, sir. Patrick, is there anything about juniper tree usage in our plan? Where I think we could find that information is we do have ag use estimates, and our ag group really drills down by crop on that water usage, and I bet it is within those projections, and we could find that for you. But they're all wrapped up into the state water plan. But I do know our ag group really dials down by crop. So I will take a look, because now you have piqued my interest.
So a small juniper, not counting a salt seeker like we have up and down the Canadian River, but a small juniper here on the range and use 3 to 9 gallons of water a day.
Wow.
And the junipers really are not native to a lot of the areas that they're currently in, including the hill country. It's a very significant problem, and it needs to be addressed as a priority.
Well, thank you to bringing that to my recognition, and we're looking into juniper trees right after we get done with this. I do know that there's a lot of specific crops that are just more water intensive, like pecans use a lot of water. Rice uses a lot of water, but they're still valuable crops to the state of Texas. So how do we balance the need for the continued agriculture with the amount of water that they're using? And that's something that we talk about every day at the Water Development Board. But I had not thought about juniper trees, so I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, well, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.